The winter holidays were coming on the island of Sodor. And the Fat Controller had invited 2 engines from the mainland as part of a special train called the Polar Express. The big engines, of course, were not pleased. "Why didn't the Fat Controller want a splendid engine like me to pull it?" huffed James. "You?" said Gordon. "You wouldn't be able to go up the hill. A special train is a big, strong and fast engine." "Well, why not let Henry try? He's big, strong, and..." "Not interested. Passengers during this time always complain. I'm happy just pulling trucks," interrupted Henry. "Besides," continued Edward, "you don't even know who the 2 engines are." Gordon and James said no more. That afternoon, Gordon and James were at the big station when an unfamiliar sound was heard. "Must be them," said James. A slick, modern-looking engine rolled by. The engine looked newly built. Gordon and James were stunned at the visitor. "You there, red engine with the yellow dome," began the visitor. "It's gold." "Yes, and I'm made out of diamonds. Now, take my coaches away. I need a rest." "Take them yourself," said James back. "I'm not your shunter." Before the visitor could say anything else, another horn was heard. This time, a familiar sound, especially to Gordon. Pulling into the station was none other than... "Mallard!" shouted Gordon. "Well, I never! If it isn't Gordon! How are you, old friend?" asked Mallard. "Grand, now that you're here. But who is..." "This here," he began, "is Wallace, the high-speed engine. He's newly built, you see, fresh from the works." Gordon and James were surprised. "Ah, there you are. Welcome to Sodor, Will." But before the Fat Controller could finish, "Wallace, sir. My name is Wallace." The Fat Controller was confused. "But your papers said your name's Willie." "Willie?" laughed James. "The workers named me after a silly chocolate maker," Wallace replied. "Well then, Wallace, I'm sure your crew have explained to you how the trains will run. Mallard, you'll take the first train after you've had your rest. Wallace should follow after," the Fat Controller said. "Oh, and James, take their coaches away," he chuckled. James fumed. The Polar Express train ran like clockwork. But soon, dark clouds loomed over the island, snowing all night. The next morning, the island was covered in thick snow, and because of this, the Polar Express special had to go slower, which meant it would be delayed, and Wallace wasn't too happy. "Silly snow," groaned Wallace. "I would just push it aside." "Snow can be very dangerous," said Edward. "Nonsense, it's just silly soft stuff." Before Edward could say anything else, the guard blew the whistle and Wallace rolled away. "Don't mind him, Edward," said Mallard. "He's only young. He'll learn. Eventually." Wallace sped down the main line. "See, nothing to be worried about. Snow is just silly soft stuff." But then there was trouble. In the distance, a tunnel was blocked by snow. Wallace's driver quickly applied the brakes, but he skidded on the icy rails. Wallace shut his eyes. Luckily, no one was hurt, but Wallace was stuck in the snow. "We'll have to go find help," cried the driver. Soon, Gordon and James arrived at the scene with the breakdown crew. "Stuck in the snow, are we?" laughed Gordon. "I thought snow was silly soft stuff," continued James. Wallace said nothing. It was later brought back to the big station. I apologize for my behavior, began Wallace. Thank you for rescuing me. That's alright. That's what we Sodor engines are for, said Gordon. The other engines agreed.